I'm going to do things a little bit differently today. Typically, I like to go through and do the setup with you guys, but based off of the feedback we've received, we want to actually show you the full process prior to showing you how to do it. So what I'm going to do right now is show you guys sending out a prospect form or an intake form, me filling it out from an EOTI role, and then exact forms plus batch, creating a document, and Courier sending it right out to me. So let's get started with that. So I'm in my prospect form. So imagine you have any type of prospect, whether it's an opportunity, a lead, or a new leasee, in this example, and you want to send them a form to fill out for more information. So we do already have the company name, the primary contact, their email, the address they're going to be taking on, and their phone number. So all this information I have, and I don't want to have them fill that out again, or I just want to save that into a form that they can fill out more information on. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to kick off an email to go out to them, and I'm kicking off this email through Exact Forms Plus. So I just generated a quick welcome letter, and this is a welcome letter that I actually did in a previous office hours. I'm not sure what week, but I got a little ding email for that. And what I'm actually also going to get is an email to my personal Gmail. And what I did is I actually went into an incognito window and I opened up my own personal email where I have from me just a quick intake form. And again, I'm just going through the process for you guys to see. So I have this button here, and just please ask me to fill out the intake form. And when I click on this, it takes me in an EOTI role, as you guys may notice. I'm not signed in, so I'm not signed in at Quickbase, and I'm able to see some information that's relevant to me. If you guys remember, it was mobile, the address, contact, cell phone, and my email address. So in this example, you want people to be able to change the information you have on file if it's not correct. Maybe this is an incorrect phone number. Maybe you want them to update that. So I just put, Juice phone number in there. And you know what? That email address is right for me. And for this, it's just some minor information about what you want to bring in. For this use case, it's leases, so it's weekly payments or biweekly payments, or let's do monthly payments. And I want to make a monthly payment of $1,500. And by checking this, I'm authorized to have this application for a lease. So I'm checking this. And it's asking me just to fill in my name to say, okay, I am authorized to do this. Let's just say, I want a copy. Additional comments. I want to pay cash. So I'll save this, and it just redirects me back to my homepage. There's nothing else I can do right now because I'm in an EOTI role. And, in a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to set all this up. But again, I just wanted to make sure that I showed you guys what we're going to be setting up before we did it. So again, if I go back to my email, I'm going to end up finding that email comes back to me. And let me show you guys now from a signed in view what I'm getting. So if I open this back up, here's that intake application, and now I'm signed in, and here's that information. So now as the owner, I can see, oh, okay, they filled out some information and they want to pay cash. But as the recipient, I get back this. And thanks for filling out your application. Here's a copy of your form. This was a generated Exact Forms Plus document with my name, monthly payments, the $1,500, some more information about my company, and I want to pay cash. So that's the entire thing. If you guys noticed, I didn't generate anything. I didn't press any buttons. I didn't ask to get a copy. That was all done through our batch processors. So now let me go through and show you guys how to do that. So before I do that, any questions? I know I'm talking very fast, a lot going on there. If you guys notice, I'm in incognito mode. I'm not signed in here. Questions, comments, concerns? Everyone just wants to know how to do that because that was pretty cool, right? Okay. So I'll minimize this for now. And let's go back and let's start from square one. So I'm in my, let's call it my CRM for my properties. And I have already made a record, a tenant record, tenant/prospect record for this mobile company with all the contact information that I sent over. I've learned through, folks here, how to make a API generate record form that allows me to fill in information from this record into this intake record. So I'm not sure if you guys want to stop and take a quick moment to look at this. This DB-ID is going to that application. Don't use this DB-ID, use your DB-ID. So that's your target. And then the field on this side is the field in the target application that you want to populate. And you want to populate it with the field from this current application. So the tenant and prospects table, I want to populate field 6 on my intakes application. So let's open up the field so you guys can see this. Field 6, tenant name. I want to populate that with primary contact from this application. Remember, I'm jumping back and forth between two apps. So lease management, office phone, and email to 7 and 8, field 7, field 8, field 7, field 8, as well as the company name and the address into 16 and 19. So company name and address, 16 and 19. And by doing this, I'm giving myself kind of a way to generate that document. But what I really want to do is I want to send that to the client. So I'm going to need to make a Courier email to send that out, because obviously I want to send it to the email address I have on the record. So you're going to have to log in. And again, for those of you who don't know how to get to the Juice Cloud, the best way to go is just hit juicetech.com and hit login. And then you could just log into your own address, and I'll log into mine here. Probably should have had that up already. And I'm going to go into our account, because that's where I built all this out of. I'm going to navigate to QB Courier. As you guys will see now, we have everything active. That's really not going to be the case for you guys, but I'm going to go into Courier, and I'm going to show you guys the Courier configuration that I had made for this. There's really one small trick I want to make sure you guys know how to do so that you guys can be successful with this. I'm going to go into the configurations. I'm going to jump to the very end. This is one of my last ones. And we're going to do send prospect intake form. So I had already built all this out because this would take way too long to try to explain the whole thing. If you guys need to know how to make a Courier configuration, so, really level 1, making a configuration, we do have that office hours already, and we can definitely direct you to that so you guys can learn the basics. But this is assumed you kind of understand where to start when it comes to making a Courier configuration. If you have questions on that, you can feel free to jump in and ask. I'll be happy to answer them. But we're just going to go to really the big clue here. So I have my application. I have my tenants and prospects. I want to send out this string over an email. I'm going to go to that email message, and you see I have this submit intake form. It looks like a button from Quickbase because it is. I took a quick screenshot of it, and I actually put a link in there. So what that link is just that field from before. So the field's name is send prospect form. And if we go down, send prospect form, field 72 is linked behind there. So I'm setting up a formula URL field to be able to be clickable right in that email. Now, here's one trick that you guys might not know, and this is small, but it actually makes a big difference. If you notice in the name of the field, I have underscores. There cannot be spaces in the field name for us to be able to do this. There needs to be no spaces, and that's something that I had to learn the hard way. So hopefully you guys can take a note of that, but no spaces in the field that you want to send in a URL, and it will work. So that's what I'm doing there. I'm just hitting the link right behind there and opening a new tab. If any of you guys have had to purchase additional transactions for us, you've clicked a button very similar to that. So that's the thing behind there. And besides that, this is a very, very regular Courier configuration. I just wanted to put some basic information there, just a regular image with some additional fields from Quickbase. You may see my C list there, 56, 7, and 72. Those are the fields from Quickbase that we're putting on this email. One other thing you may have noticed is I'm using a different email address than before. This is the semi-branded option that I also talked about in that same Courier office hours from the past. That semi-branded option is really starting to kick off. A lot of people are starting to use that. If you guys are interested in having a semi-branded option, it could be your company name or whatever information you want in the front, followed by @quickbaseemail.com. A lot of people are liking that as a substitute to using their own mail server or using our QB Courier @quickbaseemail.com. So you may want to reach out to us about that if you're interested about using Courier, or if you already use Courier and you're looking for a new method of sending out emails. So long story short, to go now, we made this a triggered configuration. I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but we have 3 options: on-demand, scheduled, or triggered. Triggered emails go out based off of a change in Quickbase. So to do that, we need to make an email notification. And I'll show you guys how I did this one. In a previous office hours, we sent a welcome letter. So you may already have a Courier configuration. Someone might have made one for you in the past, and it's always worked, but you've always been a little nervous to make your own. Let me just tell you how easy it is to make your own. You can see that I have my email address in here, just because I want to get a copy of each one that goes out to know that something was sent out. And then we have our email. And some of you might be asking, well, where would I find QB Courier at courier.quickbasetools.com? So there's 2 places. You can either, 1, go into your configuration, again, in the Juice Cloud, hit finish, and then on the very, finish tab, this big yellow button here, this actually will give you all of the details for this specific Courier configuration. So you may notice that they have, type in the list of an email address, qbcourier@courier.quickbasetools.com. So you can take that and plug it right in there. Type in a list of an email address. If you notice, we try to do the language really one-to-one. And you put that in there. The notification when part, this is the actual trigger. This is what's causing the email to go out. I have EFP date changes, as well as the date is not blank and the email address is not blank. Obviously, you can't send out an email if there's no email address to send to. That's a very simple, filter you want to put on there. I recommend you do that for every email you send out using a trigger. It'll save you a little bit of a headache in the future. And then the next part is the configuration ID. So you're just going to put in to this custom message body exactly what's shown here. And you're just going to take that, copy, and paste it in. Now, this one that I'm showing you is actually a welcome letter. So let me show you one way you could do it to make your life easier. We'll just go in this send intake form right now. You could just copy it. There's a copy button on all of your notifications. You can copy it and it'll give you everything you need. So now we have welcome letter copy. And instead of using that, I could just come in here and pop in my new config IDs. Remember, I just took that from there. And really, as long as you want the same trigger to go out, if you want these emails to go out at the same time, it's going to be all done for you. If not, you just have to change your trigger, and that's specific to each person. No 2 setups the same. This part right here, the notification when, we can't really tell you what to do there. We can recommend things like something like EFP date, but it's going to be based off of your own use case. So again, now we have this Courier configuration being sent. And I'm just going to cancel this because I already have it. So we can just shut this one off. And again, if you want to shut off notifications, that's one way you could shut it off. Just uncheck that checkbox and it'll never go off again until you recheck it. That's just Quickbase knowledge there. So now that's that email notification, and I'll send it to myself again. And again, it's being kicked off by EFP date. So I'm just going to generate kind of a bogus document. We don't really care about that right now. That's not what we're trying to show. And I kicked off a new document. There you go, 1120. And I'm going to get, I just get a little ding from my email there, but I would get my email to, again, this Tilly Tillinghast email address. If I went back, here's my next intake form. So this is what I received right now. I just sent this out to me. So that's step number one. You get this. Now, step number two is taking this intake form and customizing it based off of your needs. So let's go back and let's look at it from a point of view where you can actually edit things. Again, you've set up a few fields already, but now you want to say, okay, after they fill out this form, I want to auto-generate a document, and then I want to send it out to them. So there's two things you're going to have to do. You're going to have to, one, go back into the cloud, and you're actually going to authorize exact forms plus batch. So for those of you who have authorized exact forms plus batch for yourself in the past, you may know that there's two options, and I'm going to show you which option you're going to choose here. So I'm going to choose my user token. And then I'm going to select the application I want to do. And again, this is office hours. And then it's going to ask me what table I want. So I want to do the intake form. And here's that processing type. You can either auto-generate a single document, which is what we want to do here, or you could do a bulk document generation. For those of you who don't know, exact forms plus batch can generate several records worth of documents for you, but the auto-generate document will be kind of like a trigger for Courier. It's just going to be a trigger for exact forms plus. So I'm going to hit auto-generate. I'm going to select PDF, but you could always change it to doc in the future. It's just the regular parameters field, very, very, very similar to exact forms plus. So if you get exact forms plus, there's no reason why you won't get exact forms plus batch. You're going to select your file attachment field. What I recommend, unless you already know for sure the file attachment field you want, is to create a new one. Exact forms plus by default, the regular version, not batch, will create you a EFP document field and an EFP date field. If you don't already have that in your application, you're going to want to make sure you create a new field. And then you're going to want to create a new date field as well. Same thing there, unless you're really positive you want to have two of those fields filled in. And then template to use. This might be a little new for some of you if you haven't been in here for a while, but we actually give you the ability to select. If you already have an existing document templates table, you can select the record ID. So I could say use existing template. I could say I want to use one, record ID 1. So instead of having to make an additional sample document for yourself, you can just use an existing record. Very, very helpful for those of you who have many document templates and you just really don't want another sample one floating around. And again, the log errors table, this would be just an exact forms plus batch error log. If you check this, it'll make an additional table for you to log any errors if there are. Not always needed, but definitely recommended if you guys want to just have those audits. So you would just hit finish. That'd be the very last step. I'm not, I might as well do it. So let me create a new field and create a new field. And let's finish that. So what this made for me is I have the EFP document and the EFP date was created. And if I go back, it's going to take me to that intake form. So now on my intake form, and I'll show the field so we can all take a look at it together. We have my EFP document and EFP date. I'm just going to remove those for now. What we really want to look at is the batch processing arguments. So the batch processing arguments, if we look at regular exact forms plus, is very, very similar to Exact Forms Plus. So we have your client ID, app ID, the document templates table, and then your template. Now, these first three, you should really never have to change. If you're changing these, you're a pro or you really have a specific use case to change them, I normally would never recommend that. But TPID is referring to the document template you're working in. So you always are going to have a document templates table, and there's always going to be a record. So document template number 1. So TPID, template record ID 1. The MSDB, that's just the table you're on. Again, unless you really are a pro, you're not going to have to change this. The file name, FN, commonly changed. Let's make this lease_application. Another tool of the trade, there can be no spaces in the file name for Exact Forms Plus batch. If you noticed, if I Control Z, EFP document, no spaces. Let me go back to the lease management application. Notice here, welcome letter with a space. That's totally fine when you're using, a URL, when you're doing it with the actual web. But if you're going through the batch, no spaces. So please keep that in mind. Underscores, totally fine. So let's go back and change this to lease application. MSID is the record we're on. We're not going to change that. FAID is the file attachment ID, that EFP document field we spoke about. And then EFP DTE, Exact Forms Plus date, that's that same date field. Again, these are Quickbase field ID numbers. That's what you're going to want there. Doc FMT, doc format, PDF. As I mentioned before, you could always change that. So if I wanted that to be, docx, docx totally works. But let's keep it as PDF for now. Add files and pre-files. You might have saw Keith talk about pre-files last week. Pre-files now allow you to put a document, a file attachment before your Exact Forms Plus document created. Now Add Files does it after. Add Files has been around for quite a while. Pre-files is new. I'm not going to do that here. I don't need it, nor do I need an app token. Type equals EFP batch though. That you definitely need, and in all likelihood, you want to have that right at the end. Again, don't touch, just leave it the way it is. 9 out of 10 times you can come in here and use that field out of the box, and it's going to work for you. So there's my batch processing arguments, and some of you might say, well, how do you kick that off now? Best thing you can do, go in, notifications, just like Courier. The exact same thing. So let's go in and check out generate lease application. Again, just like Courier. So you may ask, okay, where am I going to get EFP batch at efpbatch.quickbasetools? Well, the best place that I would recommend to go to get this one is probably our help site. So again, I went to our regular website and hit help. And then I'm just going to navigate quickly to Exact Forms Plus batch, and then create email notification. If you guys have any questions about that, always reach out. But in this create email notification, if you follow the steps, you'll know exactly what you're doing and where you're doing it. But we already created, hit new email. We already got the notification. But in step 5, you're going to find enter the following email address. You can just copy that right in there. This keeps dinging. It's going away. So you take that and you throw it right in to your notify whom. Again, I'm notifying myself as well, just to confirm that that's going to go out and that you're able to, kind of do a little check that, okay, I did have the email go out to the batch processor. One reason why you want to have that is if you're not receiving the document. If the document's not generating, it's a great way to help yourself kind of debug or go through your workflow. If you're not receiving that and your email address is in here, you know that it's your email notification that's causing the error, not necessarily Exact Forms Plus. So for this one, if you notice from before, I had mentioned okay, Courier, what do you do to trigger it out? This is the notification when. So in this example, it's when an intake is added and any of the following fields change. Authorized to create application, it's just a checkbox field. So when that is checked and an intake is added, we're going to be generating the document. And all you have to put in the custom message is batch processing arguments. And that's that same field I was just showing you guys just moments ago. And the best way to get that is just get it from the right side. If you type in batch processing arguments or batch, it should come right up. You can just click it. It's going to throw it right in there for you. Obviously, don't do it twice. Just have it once, just like that. That's all you need to do. Then hit save. Perfect. One thing I didn't mention, and I just want to make sure that I do talk to it. This is an open email notification. If you go and create an email notification, let's do a new one, email notification. You have to have it as an open email notification for any of our batch add-ons for Courier. That is a requirement. You may, and let's see, I think the help site speaks to it. The very bottom, you may get this. And this is a Quickbase error. Some of you may have gotten it yourselves in the past. By default, I believe open email notifications are not on. You can always click it, but they're not on by default. So just make sure that you do click that. If you get this error message, just take a screenshot of it just like this. And as it says here, please contact Quickbase customer support. Just reach out to Quickbase and ask them to please enable open email notifications in your realm. They'll do it fairly quickly. It's a very common support case, and then you'll be all set for your whole realm. You don't have to do it for every app. I believe it's for the whole realm. Let's just cancel this. That shows that. Okay. Before I go into the last part, which is a Courier to send this created document out, does anyone have any questions? I know I've been talking probably a million miles an hour for some of you. All right. So you're now generating your document, and let's go ahead and let's put that EFP document on here so you guys can see that you have your document created. I wasn't showing that because you don't need to necessarily show it to your individuals in the EOTI role. But here's that document that you created. You're doing this through exact forms plus batch. So what I'm going to do now is just to help you guys visualize it. I'm going to go back and open up the intake form. I'm back in my EOTI role. Again, you can see I'm not signed in, but here's that same form. And, you guys can see it's, one-to-one. And as an EOTI role, you don't see the users or any of the other tables. So you're not exposing any of your company data. You're just allowing someone who's interested in learning more or making an application for a lease or an application to a college, or you want to get your roof fixed, whatever the use case might be for you, you're creating your own form. And that's all Quickbase work. If you guys want to learn more about how to make a form that looks like this, or even more elaborate than this, we'd be happy to talk to you about it. Do you use a pipeline to move data from EOT on your app to your app? Oh, good question. Good question. So no, I don't here, but in our real use cases, we do, yes. We don't always, but in this use case, we don't. Obviously, this is just a demo, Francisco, but we do often use pipelines to kick off other processes as well. This is just kind of the capturing of the data, but that's a good question. That's definitely getting to an additional step to it. But to kind of continue here, this is just to kind of gather that data. They don't get to see anything after. You're just letting them choose a few different options like weekly payment, and they could do weekly payment of 500. You're making them authorize that they're able to make this application. And let's just do MT so you guys can see that. And this one as well. and save and close. Again, they have no ability to see anything else. They're basically done. In their eyes, they would just close this out. Thanks for submitting your form. Let's send that out to you. The point of this too is to show that you can kind of do a confirmation email back with a copy of what they filled out. It's great for, end user experience, but you're also still getting that data for yourself, which is obviously what we're all trying to do here. And if I just go back again to my actual Gmail, I should get that in just a few moments. And that email that I'm going to receive, which is right here, is really the last part of what I have to show you guys. So again, here's just that email, a weekly payment MT. So I made this using Exact Forms Plus batch, which I just showed you guys. But let's go ahead and show you how to do the email. And for this use case, the email was triggered by the EFP date. So we knew that we wanted to have the document sent. So we had to wait for that document to be created in order to send out the courier email. So for this email notification, it's when an intake is modified, because technically what's happening is we're modifying the record again to update the date and the document. So we know that if the Exact Forms Plus date changes and the date is not blank, that we're all clear to send out this configuration. And just for you guys' knowledge, 4947 is the configuration number. And if I went back to QB Courier on our end, I was using the sidebar to navigate there. You guys could have very easily hit home and then went there. There's multiple ways to get to the same conclusion. Configurations. I'm going to use this jump to skip all the way to the end. And then you see office hours MT. This is to send the client application. This is right now grouped by application. Let's hit that pencil. Again, this is a very basic courier configuration. If you guys need help with something like this, we'd be happy to direct you to a previous office hours or talk to you about it. It's very intuitive. I'm going from my email mail server, that semi-branded option I spoke about before. We're sending the email to the tenant email. The reply address is me. The email message itself, super duper simple. But the attachment is really the only difference, is we're getting a file attachment field from the intake table, intake form, and we're taking the EFP document. There's a second one there because I just did a walkthrough of that. Great use case. Appreciate you coming, Francisco, for sure. I really appreciate you guys coming. And this, then again, you have your settings in that yellow button there. This will kind of complete your process as you throw that right into your custom message body. Once you hit save, you are basically done. The only things I didn't show you guys are how to make the form, and that's really it. As long as you guys have this form yourself, this intake form, which is going to be unique to each and every one of you, we can't really necessarily give you guys the whole playbook when it comes to this. If you guys need help with something like that, we'd be happy to do so. But that is the entire workflow of how to get from beginning to end, from the lease management application, where you have the originated data that you want to have pre-filled in so that your clients don't have to waste time refilling information, and then having a document auto-generate and then send out for their own benefit. So based off of everything that I just said, I'm sure some of you guys are way confused. If you guys have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. If not, I hope it was helpful. I see Francisco said it was a great use case. Happy to hear that. But if there's anyone who has a question about this, I would be happy to answer. Or if you guys have any questions about any add-on in general, now would be the time. There's about 15 to 20 minutes left in this call. But that is all I have for you today. If you can't tell, I'm a little out of breath. I did a lot of talking there. All right, thanks, Matt. As a newer user, I would love to link an earlier lesson. Yep, Michael, I would love to show you guys that. Let me just show you guys from our help site. If you don't already know, on the help site, we have all of our office hours. We've been doing this for quite a while now. And then for Courier, QB Courier overview, that might be a good place to start, Michael, for Courier lessons. But I would be happy to talk to any of you guys as well. My email is matthewt@juicetech. Please always feel free to reach out to me with any questions regarding these. I'm always available to talk and always happy to review.